Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. On today's episode, we'll hear from Variety's Antonio Ferme and Harper Mays on how they assembled Variety's 10 Creators to Watch list this year as we get ready to celebrate these modern moguls at South by Southwest. And Variety's Peyton Turkeltaub joins us to explain why so many people are taking in their TV with cocktails and friends as watch party events for fan-favorite shows proliferate in bars and restaurants. But before we get to all that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. The Whaler Group has launched Lighthouse Studios, a new division that is tasked with developing a network TV-like schedule of creator-led content. To do so, the company has pacted with Cole Bennett's Lyrical Lemonade. That digital media music, culture, and lifestyle site has some 24 million YouTube followers. Whaler and Lighthouse have an interesting model that is explained fully in a story posted this morning from yours truly. Brooke Shields has a new show. She's starring in and producing the murder mystery You're Killing Me for Acorn TV. Dr. Dre is a billionaire. Forbes now says that Dr. Dre has joined the elite list of 22 billionaire entertainers. It's a club that includes Beyoncé and Jay-Z, as well as Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, and Rihanna. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. Now it's time for conversations with Variety journalists about news and trends in show business. Next up, Antonio Ferme and Harper Mays, Variety's intrepid social media editors, join us to talk about how they put together our first ever 10 Creators to Watch list. We'll be celebrating these fine folks at the South by Southwest Festival this weekend. Ferme and Mays are already working 24/7 for Variety just by the nature of the medium they support. But they found time to scour the internet to find 10 rocket ships of digital media whose work specifically focuses on entertainment. From a huge pool of contenders, we picked these 10 people. Fanfare Please, Quinlan Blackwell, Sabrina Beer, Nikki Campbell, Bree Morales, Mina Lee, Jake Shane, Julian Shapiro Barnum, Grace Reeder, Eric Cedeno, and Vinnie Thomas. If you don't know those names now, there's a good chance you will in the future. Antonio Ferme and Harper Mays are two incredible social media editors. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, happy to be here.
Thank you. The two of you ably took the helm of one of our most important franchises that we do here. It's called our 10 to Watch series, where we identify up-and-comers from a whole range of sectors. And this year, for the first time, we are doing creators. Who better? You who toil all day long making sure the Variety's content is well seen and appreciated and presented with the right elements for each different platform. So my first question for you, when we gave you this assignment, 10 Creators to Watch, there's a few million creators out there. Where did you start to come up with the pool of people that then you pick the final 10 from?
I mean, it was hard, like you said. There are so many creators out there, so many recognizable creators, but we did want people that had a really established fan base. Like, you see them online, you know who they are, and they have a good amount of followers. But we also wanted people that they were working on other projects. For example, Quinn Blackwell, she's walking in the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Jake Shane, he's currently on Broadway. So we really wanted influencers that were on social media and had a very established fan base on social media, but were also venturing out into more typical mainstream Hollywood ventures.
To follow up on what Harper said, it was really interesting to see how these 10 creators were using social media, not only to build an audience, but also to give them leverage inside Hollywood, get them inside the writer's room at Netflix, get them onto Broadway. You know, in the past, it was a tried and true thing where you would have to be an assistant and drug your way through that for many, many years to even get a possibility to do that. But now these creators have kind of figured out that they don't need to do that anymore. They can use social media for as long as they want and do it that way instead. And they have a lot of freedom and autonomy over the content that they're posting, and it really allows them to be a unique version of themselves. So it was really cool to connect with these people and see how they were different from maybe some of the more traditional Hollywood actors who had to go through the system in a more rigid way. And I think it's only the beginning of how we can see creatives come about and interact in the Hollywood ecosystem for the years to come.
For all of the creators that you surveyed, did you find that most of them do aspire to be on screen, to be on stage? They want to use this as a jumping off point? Or did you find some people that feel like this is what I want to be for the rest of my life?
From what I've seen in my experience, most people want to venture out of social media. Like they still will be on it and they have that established fan base, but it doesn't necessarily have to be becoming an actor or being on Broadway. It can kind of become like you're opening up your own business. Like Alex Cooper, for example, opened up an energy drink brand. And so I think most of them do have bigger aspirations from what I've seen, but a lot of them want to stick on social media as well.
It's interesting because when we all first met about this, my kind of thesis for this was that these were going to be 10 creators whose end goal was to live on social media. And I was wrong. It was actually kind of the opposite, like what Harper said, that they were using social media to give them leverage to get into not just Hollywood, but also to get the
Mhm.
brand deals or whatever they wanted, because this is where visibility is. And this is what all these big companies are starting to realize. When I talk to someone like Vinny Thomas, he used social media to get himself in Netflix rooms. He's currently working on a spin-off series for Big Mouth, which is a pretty big show. But at the same time, he told me that the reason why it was so important to have his social media and why he's not going to get rid of it is because just in case things don't work out or if work goes dry for 6 months.
And you can make so much money on social media too. It is insane. Between the partnerships and everything, you can make a living through it easily.
As we know, it's not that you have to have 100 million followers, Kardashian level followers. Like you have a small but dedicated band of followers, and you reach that niche that whether it's a marketer or a film distributor or somebody trying to promote a TV show, if you reach the niche that they want, they will pay. Are any of the creators that you spoke with, are they struggling with the business aspects of the job?
I think it's the other way around. I think they have a lot of options to go down. And young people are really business savvy, and a lot of these people are friends and they work together. And if they're starting a podcast, they'll go on each other's podcasts and they'll help promote it and they'll share resources with each other. It's kind of like all rising tides, it's a great thing. And so I don't think they struggle with it. I think that they're actually probably better at it than creatives were in generations past.
Mhm.
In talking to people, is there anybody's story, one of these 10 creators, anybody that really stands out to you as a sign of pulling themselves up by their bootstraps?
Well, Quinn Blackwell started on Vine forever ago. And so she had no nepotism, no anything. She had no connections to the industry. So she totally started bare bones on Vine and she's hilarious. And so she just built such a following from there. And then really that following carried over to Instagram and then TikTok.
And then you have someone like Julian Shapiro Barnum, who has his famous segment, Recess Therapy. His ultimate goal is to start the first late night show on social media. And he wants to have them be street style interviews, but also in a late night Colbert style format, which is kind of like mixing together different mediums. And at first, he was talking to people who are more established in Hollywood, but ultimately he's now producing it independently.
What was it like when you made contact with people and said, "Hey, Variety wants to talk to you"? Was there excitement?
Yeah, they were so excited. It was a huge honor for them. And we were worried initially that they didn't want to be labeled as creators because a lot of them want to be labeled as actors or musicians or etc. But no, it was huge for them and they were all so excited.
It's a testament to us staying up with the times because we've been covering the entertainment industry for 120 years. And if we're not covering this side of the business, we're going to kind of lose a grasp on what's happening. And I was already getting a ton of messages on LinkedIn and different places on social media where I shared our story, people pitching stuff for next year and pitching their clients. And I think that's just a testament of this is an exclusive list that people want to be on. And it's exciting to work for a brand that, is able to hold that prestige in an era where there's so much competition out there.
We haven't been around for 120 years by ignoring big, obvious trends that are staring us in the face. This is an incredible transitional moment for our business. Feel like we say that every week, but it's true. Antonio and Harper, thank you so much for your work on this feature and for talking to me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And now we turn to Peyton Turkeltaub, a Variety reporter who spotted a hot trend in her social media feed. She investigated and took it all the way to the finish line with a great feature that was recently published in print and online. Peyton Turkeltaub, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello.
You've written a very charming story. It's very hard to capture a trend in a moment and say it all in about 650 words, and you did an excellent job with a story about the rising trend of watch parties at bars. People are gathering in numbers at their favorite watering holes for organized watch parties for everything from Survivor to The White Lotus to, of course, Heated Rivalry to RuPaul's Drag Race, which has been a thing for a while and certainly was one of the sparks of this trend. Peyton, what was it that brought this to your attention in the first place? What was the spark for this story?
Watch parties are not new and they've been happening for many, many years. But last summer, across the country, people were obsessed with that Love Island USA season. So people were going to watch parties for that. And I knew some people who were going to those. I was seeing it all over my social media. And then this year, around Christmas, when Heated Rivalry came out and that madness descended in a good way on everyone, people were hosting watch parties for that. And being in LA, I think they just came across my social media and, people hosted them all throughout the country, New York, LA. So it was kind of put on my radar from that, seeing it online and just how many people were showing up because you would see it online and people would just be standing on the sidewalk looking into bars because they were so at capacity that they couldn't even have more people come in.
The best advertising for any restaurant is a line out the door, for sure.
Yes.
It's sort of like a mashup of the movie-going experience where you watch something with a lot of people and have all the laughs and the gasps all at the same time, but also still the intimacy of television that you watch on a weekly basis or you watch on a binge basis. For pop culture lovers, this is the best of both worlds. What are the common threads between the types of shows that tend to lend themselves to these kind of watch parties?
I think any show that has a following can definitely lend itself to this, but there are some commonalities. The stuff that people want to cheer at and get very excited by. So, shows that have big moments. So with Heated Rivalry, of course, there's very dramatic moments that people want to experience as a group and they want to come out and see other people. I think one of the reasons why reality shows are so popular is because they are kind of sports adjacent. You want to yell at the TV and cheer at them, and that lends itself to being in a group and being in public and going to a bar and getting a drink and hanging out with your friends. When you look back at the Love Island watch parties that were happening this past summer, lots and lots of drama, just things that get the audience riled up.
You make a good analogy about sports. Anything surprise you in your reporting for this? Anything that you didn't expect to learn that you found out through your reporting? You got a number of people from different establishments and different companies that are involved in organizing these. You got a lot of sources on the phone for this.
I think what was most surprising was just how many people come out to these. I went to a Survivor watch party for this story for the season 50 premiere, and more than 600 people circled in and out of the bar the entire night, which is that's a ton of people to come in and out of a bar just to watch a TV show. So I think the sheer number of people that are coming out is impressive and interesting and something that kind of surprised me. And I think the other thing that I hadn't thought about before was the financial upside for bars that host these events. For a bar and pub and what have you, especially people are drinking less and post-COVID people are going out less. So it is a way for them to have these events that people come out to. I spoke to a woman who hosts reality TV show watch parties across LA, and she was saying too, a lot of these shows are on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night when people aren't really going to bars as much as they would on a weekend. So it's a good way to levy the slower moments in a bar.
That's good business reporting. We thank you so much for delivering us this great little story. It's those observational moments as a journalist that can just make all the difference.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. Don't miss my colleague Clayton Davis's final Oscar predictions. He was right about Sinners leading the nominations pack. Don't miss my colleague Angelique Jackson's interview with Viola Davis as to why Davis yelled out a famous line from an August Wilson play when Michael B. Jordan of Sinners won the actor for Best Actor in a Film. Looking ahead to next week, Variety will have a team at the big Hong Kong Film Mart content marketplace. We'll produce 3 digital dailies starting March 17th. Our great correspondent Naman Ramachandran will lead the charge. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to Billy Parks. He's been named head of the newly launched Fox Creator Studios. He's a seasoned producer who has also held senior roles at the Chernin Group, Full Screen, Astronauts Wanted, and Otter Media. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Antonio Ferme, Harper Mays, and Peyton Turkeltaub. Stick, snicks, hick, picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for another episode of Daily Variety.